Aloha kako and talofa. My name is Yaneta Le'i from Wailua, Hawaii, and I'm part of the Sundance Institute Indigenous Program. For over 40 years, Utah has been home to the Sundance Film Festival, and I'd like to acknowledge the Ute tribal nation, the ancestral keepers of the land that Sundance calls home. I would also like to honor the indigenous lands and people from which you join us, from our cold weather cousins in Sapmi lands to the Kanaka Maoli banded together atop Mauna Kea, Hawaii. Wherever you are in the world, enjoy our reimagined 2021 Sundance Film Festival.
Good evening. Welcome to Conjuring the Collective, a celebration of women artists in this year's virtual Sundance Film Festival. I'm Pat Mitchell, board chair of the Sundance Institute and a member of the Women's Leadership Council, who originated and supported the idea of a Women at Sundance celebration, which has become, over the years, a much valued time and space set aside to honor and celebrate the women artists in our community. And this year, we celebrate that collective at the first ever Sundance Speakeasy. Now, that's a term that conjures up many images. For me, it's a dimly lit space with music, of course, and dancing, and an atmosphere that invites sharing secrets, opening up our hearts to the creative spirits, and feeling the magic of connections and community. That's the Speakeasy environment that we invite you into tonight to learn some secrets from barrier-breaking women whose creative choices shaped paths forward for other women artists. Also appearing at the Sundance Speakeasy, poets, musicians, dancers, actors, writers, directors, women storytellers, all shifting the narrative about women, about culture, and community. An important shift begins with numbers. And this year, 53% of all projects in the festival were directed by women, and that is something to celebrate. While we recognize we have a long way to go to true equity as artists and media makers, especially that's true for women of color. Women come together around common purpose or in community. We dream some of the same dreams. We meet some of the same demons. We're often inspired by the same spirits. And at our best, we share a desire to lift each other up, to use our power collectively. Our community is here tonight for you and for women everywhere. So, choose your brew and enjoy the show.
Hi, Sundance. My name is Soko. I am a French musician and actress and also a queer mom. I'm very honored to be at Sundance for the very first time, and I have two films here. One is called Mayday and the other one is called The Blazing World. They're both directed by first-time directors who happen to be incredible women and human. So, very proud that I'm here.
This song is called Oh, to Be a Rainbow. You don't need to save me, baby. I can save myself. I don't need your company, baby, but I could really use it now. Oh, my pillow princess, lay down and watch how I myself. I don't need your company, baby, but I could really use it now. It's a chemical reaction turned into gold. I wanna see your smile through the teardrops and the sun through the rain again. You're a rainbow now. Oh, to be a rainbow. I wanna be a rainbow.
I am Rita Moreno, and I am the subject of a documentary called Just a Girl Who Decided to Go For It. And it was submitted to Sundance, and it made it. I am so thrilled. Out of 15,000 submissions, I'm told, I have to show off. I became one of the 10. So you're looking at a very happy Puerto Rican woman. A book was written about me, and it was published by HarperCollins. And I didn't even know a word of it till the publisher said, it's coming out, and we hope you like it. It's about your life. So this is my book called A Girl Named Rosita, which is my true name, by the way, Rosita Dolores Alberio. Anyway, this is the part of the book where it says, Rita Moreno is ready for Hollywood, but is Hollywood ready for Rita Moreno? And then it shows pictures of me being an Indian maiden, American Indian. I played tons of those, or a girl from Egypt, or Tuptim from The King and I. And those are the pictures. And then the book says, someday she just wants to quit. But then again, she's come too far to give up. One day, she will play an authentic character who is bold, proud, strong. And then on the following page was my favorite 2 pages, is Rosita dancing in West Side Story, the movie that she made. And in 1959, the newspapers announced that Hollywood is making West Side Story. And the first Broadway musical to hit the movies. This film, this part of Anita, is everything that Rita has been waiting for. Boy, you bet. She auditions for Anita. That means I tried out for Anita. A proud Puerto Rican female lead the big part. And for a month, Rosita practices step, turn, snap, kick, swish, jump, twirl. And that is my favorite page, with all these wonderful little figures of me dancing and loving every moment of it. I come from an era when someone like myself didn't even have a role model. I made a role model for myself of Elizabeth Taylor, because she was a teenager like myself. And if she could become a star, well, maybe I could. That was really very unrealistic, but I had no one there. I didn't have a mentor. I had no one. And it's heartbreaking. I mean, look at all the gorgeous, wonderful women writers now there are in the Black community. Oh my God. What do I envision in the future for women in the arts? Well, I'll tell you something. I think it started with the Me movement, and it's already happening. It's a question now of expanding, and it's happening. It's pretty thrilling. I am thrilled that it began to happen with the Me movement because I'm still here to appreciate it and to celebrate women. I think women are women's really best friends. Because it didn't happen for me with women in the past is because of the times. I mean, who was in charge then that was a female? Almost nobody. But I see nothing but greatness coming. I'm glad that I'm alive. I'm sorry that it's come so damn late in a way to affect me, but maybe not. Maybe Ava will call or somebody will call and say, hey, how about doing blah, blah? And I will drop everything and say, you bet. And she may say, well, it's a small part. I say, I don't care. There are no small parts, Ava.
Hello, my name is Apioko Sarah Mashong Abe. I go by Apioko on stage. I'm a Ghanaian poet, author of The Matriarch's Verse, a media practitioner, and an activist. The poem I'll be sharing with you tonight, I titled Bewitched Vaginas. I wrote it specifically for this Sundance Festival event because when we think about the word vagina, a lot of the time we think of it as a dirty word. But what better way to describe and celebrate women than with our vaginas, which are unique to us? So I hope that this is a call to action for women all over the world, regardless of your race, regardless of how you identify any sphere of life, to come together so that we can work together for power. Enjoy. Ago. Amen. Ago. Amen. Ago. Amen. I am the royal town cry. I am the queen of my poetic woman queendom. I am the goddess of poetic African savannas, jungles, rivers, and oceans. I am the lioness, the tigress, and the Ghanaian mermaid. I am the matriarch of modern poetic nations. I am poetry incarnate. And my pen fears no sword, no man, no woman, no coward, no beast, no plague. Forget the muse, for I am the muse. For at my conception, long before my birth, I was bewitched by a vagina. My curse is to carry my own vagina as a curse and a blessing in itself. And no creature or force can match the power of this lady hole of mine. So tonight, I bring the magic of my womanhood to this gathering, this convention, this coven of magical beings who have also been bewitched by vaginas and who understand that women are often branded as witches because our woman power is perceived to be so powerful that there's no way that it cannot be the power of witchcraft. Ago! Amen! I am the royal town crier. I am the queen of my poetic woman queendom. I am the goddess of poetic African savannas, jungles, rivers, and oceans. I am the lioness, the tigress, and the Ghanaian mermaid. I am the matriarch of modern poetic nations. I am poetry incarnate. And my pen fears no sword, no man, no woman, no coward, no beast, no plague. I said, forget the muse, for I am the muse. Listen to me. We have been bewitched by vaginas. The differences in the color of our skin, in the potency of our accents and mother tongues, in the fullness of our bellies, our hips, and our backsides, in the curl patterns, the kinks, the length, and the color of our hair, in the fullness of our breasts, in our sexual preferences, in the lengths of our periods, in the stories of the births of the children that have come out of our wombs. These differences must unite us beneath tonight's moonbeams and not divide us in tomorrow's sun rays. We must conjure our unshakable feminine energy to create an unquenchable fire of female synergy, bring our blood, skin, and sweat together, welding our hearts and tongues and minds to each other, creating potent vaginal woman potions that are heavy with the heritage, the toil, the strength, the majesty, and the magic of the centuries of the covens that existed before ours. And these covens are relying on us to use our bewitched vaginas to reclaim the woman glory of old and set the pace for her future.
Hi, I'm Marley Matlin. I'm a Caucasian woman wearing an orange and gray top with a gray sweater and a pendant that represents I love you in sign language.
Hi, my name is Shawn Hader. I am also a Caucasian woman with blonde hair wearing a jean jacket. And I am the writer-director of CODA, which is premiering in the US dramatic competition of the Sundance Film Festival. And Marley is one of my lead actors.
I play in the film CODA, the character Jackie Rossi. It's a beautiful film. I play the mother of two children, one who is deaf and one who is hearing, and my husband is deaf in this film.
So the story of CODA is about, CODA stands for Child of Deaf Adults. And the story centers around Ruby Rossi, who is a hearing girl in a deaf family. And the family work as fishermen in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And Ruby has a love of music and finds herself torn between pursuing her dreams and feeling responsible to her family and her fears about abandoning the family's fishing business.
For me as an actor and as a person who is deaf, it was so fun, or being on a set where I knew ASL was everywhere. It was my culture. I didn't have to worry about miscommunication with hearing crew. Not that there's anything wrong with having a hearing crew. I've worked with hearing crews all my entire career, but there were so many deaf people. There was, interpreters. Shawn used ASL as a director. The crew picked up sign language, American Sign Language, and it was an entire collaborative effort. And I actually looked forward to going to work every day because I knew there would be the opportunity to just speak to everybody, not just my interpreter, which is typically the case, and it has been in my career. And that was new for me. And I hope for more experiences like that.
I think there's been a real radical shift in the industry that I have personally felt, where I've watched my female director friends get more work. I'm watching them directing episodic. There's been a sea change, I think, happening in the industry. And Marley and I were talking about, whenever you start having these inclusion conversations, you have to make sure that there's intersectionality, and you have to make sure that those conversations about women include deaf women and women with disabilities and creators with disabilities. And how do we sort of open up that conversation? Because I think in all of the conversations that we're having about diversity, disability has really stayed a little bit on the outside of that. And I think the more voices that are heard and the more people who, the more representation that we have on screen, I think, the more our humanity as storytellers is expanded.
In order to, to make a film work, you always have to be aware that you do your homework as a director, you reach out to organizations, you do whatever it is. And having to incorporate the deaf community is no different. You consult, you collaborate, you do what you do in any film. So it's not any different. So I wanted to add to what Sean had to say, that I have to say my first film, by the way, was directed by a woman. Children of a Lesser God was directed by Randa Haynes. And I have always wanted to work with more directors who happen to be women. So I'm so thankful that I had a chance to do that again with Sean. She is an actor's director. She understands the experience of working with other women. She doesn't find herself in a position where she's dictating, but rather she's open-minded, she's collaborative, she's fearless. There's nothing on the set that she's concerned about. And I really have to be thankful for the opportunity to work with Sean. You're a great, great director, Sean.
Thank you. I think there's also a lot of fear within the industry, or with, what I have heard is, how would that work? If I write this role, if this is played by a deaf actor, how does that work on set? And I think the thing that we need to embrace is, like, yes, it might work differently. And yes, there are different elements that you need to have. But those elements, when you put them in place, you can create, it's not just a challenge, it's an opportunity, and it's an opportunity to work differently. And I found that this set functioned better than other sets that I've been on. And because there was a connectivity between different departments, because everyone was focused on communication. And so I think, whatever fear exists in sort of stepping into the unknown, I think that can be easily overcome when you have the resources, and the more that we do this, the more there is just a way of working.
Well, I hope that for the audience, when they have an opportunity to see Coda, understands and approaches a film with an open mind, listen to everything. And by listen, I mean look at it with an open eye, watch everything that you find there on the screen. It's all I can say. You'll find the film an enjoyable experience.
My name is Judith Jamison, and I'm the former artistic director of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. I am delighted that Ailey is participating in the Sundance Festival. I'm totally delighted that I was asked to this Conjuring of Women. I love it. I love the title. When I'm thinking about being called Mr. Ailey's Muse, it's kind of difficult for me, because when you're in it, you don't think of yourself as being anything other than being privileged to be able to work with Alvin Ailey. But in Cry, dedicated to all Black women, especially his mother, touched another heartstring. Thank God I didn't know that that's what the ballet was dedicated to. It's physically draining, and you have to pull everything out of you that you ever had in your life experience to do it. So he did this with so many of us. So considering myself a muse later on in life, okay, I'll take it. Thank you, Mr. Ailey. You only got one body, you can't lie in it. You gotta tell the truth in it if you're a dancer. You know, because audiences will know.
I wanna know the thousand knows, yeah. Thousand knows.
The women just pile up, not just dancers, but just women in your life, your teachers, as I say, a nurse or you know, whatever. They're people in your life that you have to, you might not see them immediately, but they're there. And they're your spiritual guides. There were tons of women behind me whose shoulders I was standing on, and they were telling me to get off of their shoulders and just stand on your own 2 feet. Powerful forces always in women. Don't we have a VP who's a woman? Thank you. Black woman? See what I mean? But in the meantime, as a woman, you plow through. Women have been plowing through forever, haven't they? I mean, you make a way. You make a way. And you get to where you need to get to. In the time I was growing up, I was a Black woman. I wasn't just woman, which is not a just anything, but I was a Black woman. Do you know the hurdles that I had to go through? I didn't think about the hurdles. I just went, you know, because there were people behind me who did the same thing, and they didn't waste their time. What way have I noticed that women artists, creative people, are better together than apart? Sometimes I notice that. Not all times do I notice that. But even when what I find interesting about women is that even if we're out here someplace going different ways, we always do this because we have to. We have to. This is the way the world is, you know, it just is. So instead of the illusion that we'd all be like this, you know, we can come together when we need to get something accomplished, you know, to always get something positive accomplished or to shed light on whatever needs to have light shed on it. It's just from our strength, that's all. It's just simple strength.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for coming to the Speakeasy. My name is Rika Aoki, and I am inviting you for the next 3 minutes or so in my beautiful rent-controlled COVID home away from home. In my work, I like to talk about small things and how small things really aren't so small. In my next novel, I talk about immortality and stars, but that means nothing if you don't have donuts. And tonight, as I think of sisterhood, I think of my sister, who I came out to last year in a phone call. It was just between us, but it changed my world. After I told her, after we ended the call, I looked at this room, and somehow it seemed lighter, more possible. Somehow the world seemed more possible. My coffee seemed like something I could finally share. I could share my day. For she said she loved me no matter what. For she said that she had always wanted a sister too. Tonight I would cook rice, poached chicken thighs in Japanese dashi with shiitake mushrooms, some diced green onions, ground pepper, little fresh ginger. On my table would be the electric bill, but I'd get to that. A DMV notice saying my car still needed a smog check, but I'd get to that. And I would still be middle-aged, still alone, still transgender, still worried about my safety, worried if every relationship I had escaped had actually been my last chance at love. But I had a sister. Sisterhood was so difficult for me to mention. We talk of sisterhood, of chosen family, of sisters of color, of trans sisters, but so often sister translates to afterthought, to survivor, to mourner. How every morning one wakes up and learns that another sister's missing, that another sister might be dead. And yet, my grandmother showed me how to pickle eggplant, and one day, when my sister asks, I'll show her. Or maybe we'll just order pizza because sisterhood. Because now, as I think of sisterhood, because now I can imagine all my different sisters in my queer, trans, greater sisterhood, I can imagine that one day we might share a cheaper DoorDash alternative, chat about that awful stuff you have to drink before a colonoscopy, about the vice president on the cover of Vogue, about whether to save for a hybrid car, about the pros and cons of pumpkin spice latte at Starbucks, about nothing. About love. Love that exists even when one doesn't have to struggle. Even when one doesn't have to try. Thank you. Take good care of yourselves, okay?
Brown Girls Rock Mafia is an organization and an initiative that supports women and non-binary people of color working in the documentary space, both as filmmakers and as folks on the executive side. I didn't see myself very often. I didn't see people who were like me, not just on screen, I mean, that's a given, but also behind the scenes.
I was often the only person of color on any given project that I worked on. And so really that kind of discovery of a larger network has been hugely, hugely meaningful. And that idea of a group of people that you can be vulnerable with is, I think, really key.
I've been thinking a lot in my work about how to make work that I wish existed when I was a younger filmmaker that spoke to the experience of being a young woman of color or a Muslim person or a first generation person. A group like Brown Girls Doc Mafia, it's a situation where its mere existence helps mitigate that feeling that you are not alone and you're not crazy.
You guys are going to make me cry.
Yeah, so profound.
This is not a crying session.
I'm Day Al Muhammad, and I am coming to you from Washington, D.C., the ancestral lands of the Piscataway, the Anacostan, and the Pamunkey tribes. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm an Arab American woman, and I'm actually wearing my favorite faded red hoodie for y'all. And behind me, like most folks who want to look erudite, we have a fancy, fancy bookcase, but I couldn't help myself, and I had to add my action figures in there. And like many other women and women of color and queer women and people with disabilities, you know what? All us creatives are troublemakers.
I'm Lindsay Dryden. I'm a director and a producer. I'm based in the UK and the US. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a white cisgender woman with long, dark hair, blue eyes. I'm wearing a black dress with red buttons, and I'm sitting in front of an image of a pink cloudy sky.
At Forward Doc, we're really passionate about the fact that access isn't something, live captioning, audio description, it isn't something you throw on at the end because it's a deliverable and you have to do it. It's not only is it part of making sure that, the 1 in 5 people who have a disability can be part of engaging with your storytelling, but it's also an incredible creative opportunity.
There is power in allies advocating for something that they don't even need because they know that it ensures that more people, especially those who've been pushed out, can be a part of the larger industry.
And I think that kind of allyship is why at Forward Doc it's so important that we're both an organisation of deaf and disabled filmmakers, but also of active allies as well.
We are a women and non-binary run collective, and we often deal with taboo and forbidden aspects of the intimate.
I really think like if you invoke this concept of a coven, you're going to get a coven, like for better or worse.
What I found in the coven was kind of an antidote to the world outside, this capitalistic, profit-driven, conventional, success-driven world, to a space where we would come together and actually care about the work that was being created, it didn't matter what came out of it, but the process was very, very important. The process of creating it gave all of us, I think, way more satisfaction and joy.
Film Fatale started in my living room about 7 years ago in Brooklyn as a meeting of 6 women feature film and television directors.
Filmmaking can be challenging and lonely, and it can often feel that you're by yourself. But when you're part of a larger family that shares your passion and that shares your interest, and you can count on them for help when you need it, that's what collective and being part of a collective means to me.
When I consider the future of art making, I want to see the world. We live in a diverse world. We live in an intersectional world. We live in a world with different colors, different sexualities, different genders. And I think art should reflect that.
We are at a really unique crossroads, and now is the time to dismantle and rebuild. And this is a ripe opportunity for folks to take a step back and cede their power and allow new voices to step forward.
I think our powers are limited by the walls that are created by the patriarchy and by the marketing gurus that tell us that our audiences don't exist. And we hear time and time again that, our stories are too small and there isn't an audience. Then why is it that when we take it upon ourselves and go and paint the town red, then the theaters are packed? So there's somebody somewhere who's not telling us the truth, and we would like to dismantle those walls.
We didn't create the system, but I think that by coming together, we can change it, or we can at least show them that there's strength in numbers, there's strength in the power of diversity of stories. I mean, art is perspective. So in order to have great art and produce great art, we have to have diversity of perspectives. It's just that simple. And seeing you all here gives me such hope that that's possible.
Hi, I'm Amy Redford, and I am in awe of all these remarkable women. The other night I was perusing this impressive lineup in search of what to say, and my daughter clocked my struggle, and looking over my shoulder, she said, "Mom, are you speaking for all women or just women at Sundance?" I said, "Honey, I just learned to speak for myself. I could never speak for all women. We are not all the same." And that got me thinking. The importance of supporting a spectrum of female experiences has never been more important. These artists, these stories remind us to dislodge from the familiar and see through an unfamiliar lens. There we find community and the dignity of difference. These stories are the bridges. I'm so humbled and inspired by all of you who have deposited your craft in the cultural landscape. I'm grateful on behalf of all of the youth who lean towards a female identifying experience. Over 4 decades ago, my dad and the founder of the Sundance Institute understood the ROI of women getting the requisite toolbox to tell their stories. This vision was given wings by many of you in this room. Thanks to Carrie and Pat and all of you in the Sundance community for helping us hold space tonight. And thanks to the artists for letting us bear witness. To close, I bring you a very special performance by the incandescent Brittany Howard singing Short and Sweet from her Grammy-nominated solo album, Jamie.
There are miles between us, time between us. There is something between us. I may be a fool to dream God, it feels so good to dream at all. Something short and sweet. There's always a light on my head for you. I am waiting, I am waiting. Time's always trying to kill me. There are mountains between us. There is time between us. Ooh, ain't there something between us? Something short and sweet. I don't care if I should. Do you wanna hurt me? 'Cause I've been hurting all alone. It didn't kill me, no, but it wasn't no fun. Come and get you some. Just the beginning. I only want the beginning. We'll give each other all of our best, and then time can do what it wants with it. There are mountains between us. There's time between us. Ooh, ain't there something between us? Something short and sweet. So why can't I wait? Why can't I wait? Why can't I think? Why can't I wait without you always appearing? Oh, I better not wait too long. 'Cause time is gonna